I say is going to come from there. You know, for a university, and that too, private university, where the idea is that the students pay fees, I think you constantly navigating a tension. The tension is between you have to be seen as a place which is generating ideas, but you also have to have students which are eventually employable in the job market.
Yes.
And in today's world, it's not an easy tension to handle. I see that you call it an MSc, a Master of Science in Development Practice. I mean, to call it a specific science, is a slightly provocative thing today. Because I mean, look at the world today. What has happened since Donald Trump has come in the US. Almost all of development aid, as the global South has known it, is probably going to disappear. Perhaps suddenly, rather than gradually. You are actually going to see more and more countries, especially in Europe, which have traditionally been bigger donors, spend more on things like defense and all. So, setting up and pardon me for being so pessimistic, like a development practice program is like setting up a beer stall when it's peak winter. But that doesn't mean that, your genuine concerns around development in a country like ours, if you are actually, having an ambition to have students from other countries in the global South, those concerns will remain. The question is, how do you address them? I think it will not be a bad idea to brainstorm among yourself. That anything which talks development today should actually, you could probably have a vanguardist advantage. That actually take this head on, because this is coming. The more entrenched, the more successful, the more old an institution is, it takes more time to sort of change. Because for something like the UN or somebody else, it will take a lot of time to change their rhetoric, change their policies, etc. But if you're dealing with young students, if you're dealing with early career, mid-career professionals, which I think is what the intended crowd here is, it will not be a bad idea to do this. That's one thing which I wanted to make. And development aid might not be as forthcoming as it was earlier. In a country like ours, even when development aid was there, the experience of the last few years tells us that it was not very easy to access that aid. Partho is here, for example, to CPR we know. So India has this added complication, which will only become more difficult now. The question is, how do you understand this? The idea is not to say that doomsday is here, nothing's going to happen, because you actually have to employ whatever existing knowledge you have, empirical and theoretical, and try and find a workaround around it, which is going to be all the more challenging, I think, today. As a journalist, as somebody who runs a data journalism team, who does data journalism himself, where does development come into my thing? I would frame it at a more common level. I mean, journalism for me is basically, first and foremost, you have to have the imagination, because you can have all the tools, you can have all the domain knowledge, but this is something which you write at a very high frequency basis, perhaps daily, couple of days, every day. So the basic challenge is always what do you write, rather than how do you write it, or where do you find the resources to write it. Imagination is something, I don't think you can teach somebody. Even less so perhaps in 3 trimesters. These are things which take time. These are things which people have an attitude for. Develops gradually. But just imagination is not going to cut it. In an age